Well, hello and welcome to all of our viewers here today. I'm Fiona Langsharp, IBCLC Director of Communications and MC for Gold Learning. Here today, we're going to be talking about gold lactation. Our conference coming up right around the corner. It is March 30th is the date that you need to mark on your calendar. Now, at recording time, it's this really literally is just coming up in just a week or so. So we want to be sure that you have that on your calendars because that's going to be an important day for many of us. We're going to be meeting online. We're a community here at Gold Lactation, and we value you, and we want you to come together that day so that we can celebrate together. This beautiful community that we have, and also we can learn together. And I know for many of you today, you have some challenges in your life of what's going to happen in the future. But you know what? We can share in those experiences and we can learn together and we can keep things moving ahead. So today I have the pleasure of sitting down with Mariana Colmenares Castaño. I don't know if I
Good.
said it right, Mariana. Did I say it? I'm just
That's
not
great.
quite right.
That's great.
Welcome back. And I know you are here with us at Gold Lactation, actually doing two presentations and had already worked with my colleague Kristen, which is fantastic. But you're also going to be live with us here at our Gold Lactation Conference, which I'm really super excited about. And you're going to be with us, just to let everybody know, you'll be here with us on Monday, the 20th of April, which is going to be a great day as well. So that'll be for a live event. So you, our delegates, will be able to come and listen and actually speak with Mariana during that presentation. And it'll be a great way for you to interact with her and, of course, chat with colleagues around the world as well. Now, I'm expecting to see comments below today. So, because we're going to be talking about Mariana's topic, and her topic she's going to be speaking on is breastfeeding with IGT or insufficient glandular tissue. And I was talking with Mariana offline about this is not really a 1 hour presentation. This could be a whole workshop and then some, because there's certainly a lot. But Mariana is a real expert in this area, and I can't wait for you to share for her to share all the information. So welcome back to Gold, Mariana. It's great to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm very pleased also. Thank you for all your work.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Mariana. Now, Mariana, I know Kristen talked to you about where you are in the world and those types of things, but for those that haven't listened to it yet, perhaps you just want to share briefly where you are right now, and your work practice, and what sort of happens for you on a day to day.
Good. I'm from Mexico, Mexico City. It's a very, very big city. Right now, I'm at home. We have all this contingents and think about the COVID and things. So I have my
Hmm.
kids around. So I hopefully they don't get around, but
Yeah.
I'm here. And an unusual day, I work in my private practice. I work in a big hospital in Mexico, but I have like my own office there,
Oh, good.
and I have like a lactation clinic
Hmm.
where I have also students that come with me, and I
Oh,
teach about the 500 hours to become IBCLC.
wow.
So yes, and I'm a pediatrician, so my private practice comes about pediatric
Mm.
and breastfeeding almost always comes in every child. So I it's amazing. No, when I have my students, I think that I'm just looking at pediatric things, but it really comes in every child. If it's not weaning, if it's not eating, if it's
Sure.
not something, but something has to do with that. And I also work in some investigation, like in clinic investigation. I have
Hmm.
the National Institute of Health. I just support them with some like ideas or like giving them support. And
Sure.
UNICEF, I have also been working with UNICEF in some projects.
Wow.
And we have a group here that we have been forming a group with a academy and this UNICEF and the National Health Institute to give some advice. We have been doing like some investigation about breastfeeding country index, and then
Mm.
we have like we can talk with with the government and policymakers just to make things go along a little bit better.
Yep.
And well, things has been changing in Mexico. In 2012, we had only 14.8% of women giving breast milk 6 months. So
Okay.
it was amazing in that moment, 2012, like
Yeah.
everybody started to move on, no, like UNICEF and the National
Hmm.
Health Institute and government and everything. And right now, the last interview we had, the last survey we had,
Hmm.
it's 2018, and it came 28% of women breastfeeding the first 6 months.
Really? Wow.
So yeah, I think that we have been working very, very hard in different areas of the country and the city and
Hmm.
all the country. And well, I'm very happy with that. So that's my part of an investigation thing that I have
Wow.
been doing.
I mean, that
And
is statistically, that's a huge jump, right?
yes, it is.
14 to 28%. There was a couple of things that came to my mind there when you were talking, just in the fact that first of all, you're collecting the data. So this is very significant because this is something that we struggle with worldwide. It's particularly in women's health, in the field of maternal child health. There is a struggle to collect statistics right across the board from birth right through to breastfeeding. It seemed like, and I'm talking countries, I'm talking about, the country I live in Canada. They struggle to collect this data. And so therefore, we don't have accurate and up-to-date information statistically on, what's happening. So I'm wondering, how did you persuade the government or the policymakers that this would be, in fact, a really important thing to do? What mandated that as you move forward?
Yes, well, actually, I what we do is just like to collaborate with the government
Hmm.
to do this. We don't get the information ourselves. Like we
Hmm.
don't work in that. There's a national survey of alimentation,
Hmm.
and there's where they get this information.
Right.
Actually, it was supposed to be before, but
Hmm.
we didn't have that information before. So but I think that the same happens here in Mexico. I think that's a very important issue to
Hmm.
get the correct data, no? So I
Yes.
think it's a problem around, and it's very difficult, no? For example, like in the pediatric field or in the medical field,
Hmm.
we see a lot of things in our offices and in the hospitals around, but we
Hmm.
don't have enough time to write about them, no? So we have very good investigators and science and things, but I think that we need its time. Sometimes in the countries as ours, we do not have the time to do that. We have to be with the people, and like we
Sure.
have a lot of consultations, so it's difficult also for us, no? And uh,
Yes.
and and I want to add also the thing that we have been doing since 2014 also is we have an association in Mexico
Hmm.
of IBCLCs, and it has been amazing the way that it has been growing. We started being 21
Hmm.
IBCLCs, and now this year we are 60 or more,
Wow.
and maybe 95% of all the IBCLCs in Mexico belong to
Hmm.
our association, that is the
Hmm.
National Association of Lactation Consultants,
Yeah.
and we are partners of ILCA. So it has been that, I think, is our baby because it has been very, very awesome the way it has been growing, and the profession
Yes.
around, and many of our members are part of many hospitals in around the country, in
Hmm.
very important places to change the way we see breastfeeding in the country. So I think that's my favorite project.
Yeah, absolutely. I have watched you grow and I've heard you speak before in regards to your numbers and they have significantly gone up now. So
Yes,
just repeat the number to me again. How many IBCLCs do you have now?
60, 60.
60. Yeah, that's
Yeah. Mhm.
pretty amazing, that you've had that increase because I know that you have been a huge driving factor. Pretty cool that you're able to do the mentorship as well. This is something that we hear a lot about, just even if people are not choosing to be an IBCLC, but mentorship as a whole is a really valuable, context for anybody that is planning on supporting women who are breastfeeding because they need really good skills. You can't get it from a book. You can't just get it from
Exactly.
a
Mhm.
program. You need to be there in person, and you need to be mentored so that the interactions and the human behavior that you can see. right?
Yes, and the clinical cases is what gives you really the opportunity to learn. I think
Mhm.
it's the most amazing thing to be, and then the students love it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I know every time I meet them, they're just eager. They're so eager and hungry to sort of, to learn and sometimes surprised. I think I always find that interesting, Mariana, when students have been learning from their books and then we put it into practice, how it
Mhm.
shifts again for them. How they think they have the knowledge and then all of a sudden it shifts once again. Especially in that relational communication factor. It's just wonderful to watch them grow in those areas. I'm sure you
Yeah,
see the same.
yeah, it's amazing. I love teaching. It's I really like it, and
Yeah,
the way you never forget. No, it's like having a mother and a baby at the office, and
yeah.
seeing how the problem goes on, and I think that's great.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. All right, well, let's get into this topic. I said to you earlier, I know that this topic is huge. So, IGT, insufficient glandular tissue, and I was talking offline a little bit about, that some of it, when we meet women today, in our offices, in their homes, and it's the first time we're meeting them. Sometimes it's the first time they've had a conversation about insufficient glandular tissue. And I find this so interesting that they've grown up with these bodies. They've gotten pregnant. They perhaps have had a midwife or an obstetrician, but nobody has ever communicated or spoken with them, and vice versa. They've never asked. So sometimes the first time they're talking about it is when they meet a lactation consultant, and it can actually be quite devastating. There can be a huge grieving process, but there can also be a lot of explanation of understanding that this is why things are not going perhaps as well. So we were just discussing this offline, that that's something that you see too in Mexico, and we just agreed that it's a worldwide problem essentially.
Yes, it's amazing. I have had even an obstetrician at my office that had IGTA,
Hmm.
and I always ask them if they noticed something before I said them,
Right.
because that's important. Because when you ask them, they say yes, I noticed that they were different, or I noticed that
Yeah.
they were separate or something.
Yep.
Then you got the, like, it's not a new thing for you.
Yes.
So that's a good thing. I think it's important to ask and put the topic in the table. I think it's a very important. And in my experience, almost always when you first talk about that, it's difficult for me also, because it's like giving a diagnosis that maybe frustrates the idea of the
Yes.
perfect breastfeeding moment.
Yep.
But I think it's also very like relaxing for them to know that something was going wrong, and now they have
Exactly.
an explanation. It didn't depend on what
Yes.
they did or what they didn't did. No, it depends,
Yeah.
and it almost always have like the second or third pregnancy that comes to me because of that. And
Yes.
as a pediatrician, I have like people come to me because they think, as an IBCLC and pediatrician, I won't give them formula. No, so I will really support breastfeeding, and
Right.
sometimes I feel like a little bit bad to be the bad of the story, so
Yeah.
so it's difficult also that place to be, but it's, I think it's a topic that involves both the mother and the baby. So for
Hmm.
me, it's a very good way to unite both. Well, in breastfeeding we always unite both,
Hmm.
but this thing, the
Absolutely.
baby, the pediatric issues of the baby, for me are very important. And it's incredible the way the mother grieves and gets along with that and continues with the story of breastfeeding. It's like amazing, the final moment,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that this topic, I see a huge wave, when I meet a client who's just discovering, why her body is different, and what is happening. So usually, this frustration, grief, anger, relief, like you said. And so it's that sort of big wave, and then hopefully some tools. There is hope in a lot of
yes.
IGT cases. So let's get into the topic a little bit more. I want to know, well, let's talk about you. How and why was this topic important to you to speak to? How did you decide that this was going to be the one that you wanted to share about?
Well, I think that, as I told you a little bit minutes before, I have a lot of patience with this because
Mm,
one of the main things that make other doctors to tell the mothers that breastfeeding is not going on well is that the
right,
baby is not gaining weight. So many, many times is because they do not know how to measure babies and, and weight babies,
right.
and using the World Health Organization growing curves. So I
Yeah.
think that many, many problems are because of that. No, but
Hmm.
sometimes there is a problem. So
Hmm.
I have like two stories about this. Mothers that runs away from the office of the doctor that tells them that the baby's not gaining weight, so they have to give them formula, but they
Right.
don't even give any other option for that mother. I know that they maybe will need formula, but they don't never talk about breastfeeding and what the mother wants about that. No.
Hmm.
And the other things is that the baby isn't gaining weight well, but the doctor tells them that that's okay, for example, no.
Hmm.
But they are with a breastfeeding sessions like 1 hour and a half, and they really don't have a life, and they are all the time with the baby, and the baby's fuzzy, and
Yes.
they are not getting well with the baby. They have
Yeah.
like all these other moments around that aren't as beautiful as they thought.
Hmm.
So breastfeeding is very beautiful, but it has to go well.
Hmm.
No, so helping these mothers to tell them, yes, I know that your pediatrician was very supportive with breastfeeding, but it wasn't supportive with you both, no, right? So baby wasn't gaining that well, or so. I think that we have like a lot of chances to help these diets, no, to help mother and the baby, and to help making a breastfeeding relation that's a little bit better. And I think it's a medical condition also. That's why I think I
Right.
maybe have more, because it's a diagnosis
Mm.
that's a medical condition.
Sure.
So also I think that when doctors and physicians around the world doesn't know about this topic, it's like about not knowing what will happen with a one kidney,
Hmm.
or convulsions, I don't know, with
Sure.
epilepsy or something. So
Yeah.
so it's important to have a correct diagnosis, and it's
Mm.
important as healthcare professionals to know what we're talking about. But as is about breasts, it doesn't
Hmm.
matter. You know, it's like in history, breasts hasn't mattered that much.
No.
So. Mhm.
That's right. That's right. That's so true because we were talking again about the research and the fact that it just hasn't got the attention that it needs, you know. But that is changing. I feel like with it, the tide is changing in, many areas of women's health, including, even understanding the body better, which, saying out loud sounds so strange, but the realism is that we haven't done the science on women's bodies very well. And we are discovering new things all the time. And that sort of leads me into my next question in terms of the hope now that for women that do have IGT, that has somewhat changed over the years. And we've seen, I used to hear a lot that women would come to me and say, my doctor told me I can't breastfeed because I have IGT, and I'm not going to make any milk. It was just very cut and dry, but that's not really the truth now, and we are seeing some changes even in the body as they continue to breastfeed. Is that something that you're seeing as well, Mariana?
Yes, completely. And the story in in your first breastfeeding story, it's very different as in the third or in the second. So
Exactly.
every pregnancy can change it, and also
Hmm.
information about and what can you do with that. The thing is that breastfeeding is not. It can still be going. It has to be like adapted to what you have. No,
Yes.
but it can change. It can change.
Hmm.
And what I always tell to the families is that I'm going to work as if we were going to have a breastfeeding 100%. We're going to work to
Right.
that. I don't know in which part of the way in the path we will stay, but we will
Hmm.
work till that. I really don't care what we have now.
Hmm.
And many many times mothers regret about what they did the last pregnancy or the last
Hmm.
baby because they
Yes.
stopped breastfeeding before they. Now knowing this, for example, they tell me if I knew this before, I would really had to work with that before, but I didn't with the first baby, for example. No,
Yeah.
so it's sometimes a time to make peace with this, no, like I now
Mhm.
I can know why I didn't have a very good story about breastfeeding or something, no. So
Yeah.
it's very important because the things have been changing. There's not a lot, well, we have many things to do, of course, no, and there are new things that are, I just read about them when I was researching a little bit more about the topic, and
Mhm.
there is something like myo-inositol that has been using for other things that
Mhm.
maybe it's a good area of opportunity to research in this
Mm.
for IGT. So I think that's a very big open box to start filling it with more
Perfect.
information and research. Mhm.
That's exciting. It's exciting to hear that things are still moving, that we can still do things for, these women that are struggling. And I love it. I mean, it's now, I think the lid kind of got blown off. And anytime someone, if I hear someone that has IGT or, I'm sort of desperately seeking to talk with them and vice versa sometimes because the conversation and the sort of trajectory of this, diagnosis has changed. And old school would have said, you're probably not going to breastfeed. New school is you are, and we're going to work just like you said. We're going to work as if. I always say we're just going to work as if you're breastfeeding, and then we'll use what we need, and we'll continue. But it's true. One pregnancy to three, third birth or third pregnancy, completely different, and the body changes, and we know that glandular tissue changes now. So many great things really that are changing in this area. So it's exciting times, I think, right?
Yes, for sure, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. Well, that's wonderful. This is great. So, a couple of things come to my mind. I want to hear from folks, when they come to your session, I want them to hear, what it is like in their practice, first of all, when it comes to IGT, how much support they're getting collaboratively, maybe from, their pediatricians, their midwives, or their other IBCLCs in the community, in regards to treatments, and even counseling, because this is another topic, of course, and I'm sure you agree, Mariana, there's a lot of counseling that goes along with this type of topic
A lot.
because,
I think it's the
right?
most important. Yeah, I think that's the topic. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. We have to always have a big session about the acceptance
Yes.
of what's not a disease, a condition. No, the
Yeah.
acceptance is like the first thing we have to work. And sometimes it's like like maybe 1, 2, 3 or weeks later that they started to realize that that's a condition that they won't get rid of.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and suddenly they connect and say, okay, I would like to breastfeed, continue breastfeeding
I'm
with
going to
this. And
accept it.
yes,
Yes.
I want to, yes. And I love that point of I
Yeah.
love when babies are maybe 6 or 7 months long, big,
Yes.
and they continue breastfeeding, or maybe 1 year more. So it's
I
amazing the way
know.
that they can go along with that.
I know it is amazing, and I have witnessed this too, and so that's why I have so much hope now. And it's not perfect for everybody, and it's different stories for different journeys for everyone. But there are certainly things that we can do, and I think that's the most important thing is just to slow that down. Lots of counseling, and be knowledgeable in this area. So, well, thank you so much, Mariana, for being with me here today. I know we could talk all day about this
Yes.
topic. It's such a good one. And I know I think there's many people that actually suffer in silence in this topic too. So, for the families that are out there, for the women that are struggling, for the lactation counselors, peer counselors, and IBCLCs that want to know more about this is the topic you need to show up for on April 20th with Mariana. And we're going to be here supporting each other and learning together on that day. So it's going to be fantastic. And you can drop some comments and questions down below. We'll capture those for you as well. And we'll bring them into the session. So if you have an early question for Mariana before the actual conference, you can drop it in the comments below, and we'll look forward to communicating with you there as well. Well, thank you once again to Mariana for being with us here today. Don't forget, you can go to the website right now and register for the entire conference. We can't wait for you to be part of it. We know that you want to be online with us, and we can't wait to sit down with you, engage with you, communicate with you, and grow and learn with you. So we'll look forward to seeing you there at goldlactation.com. And of course, don't forget our kickoff date is the 30th of March, where you'll be able to have free and open access to Brinna Sampe. She is going to be speaking twice on that day, so I can't wait for all of you to join in that event as well. Well, thanks everyone for joining us, and have a wonderful day. Bye bye for now.